Older couples often talk of the differences that exist between love in this present time and love in the past. Unlike present time, where most couples complain of infidelity, in the past, commitment was not just a word or a concept, but a common value in marriage. This is what Bishop John Brown Masinde and his wife Persia Muthoni Masinde believe. Having been married for 38 years, one might think that being pastors would make them immune to the test of marriage, but it was not so. They share with us about their marriage life and the wisdom they have accumulated over the years.
My name's J.B. Masinde, or John B. Masinde, Bishop Masinde, married to Persia Muthoni Masinde, and I'm the senior pastor of Deliverance Church Umoja, where we've been for the last 30 years. But we've been in ministry for the last 40 years, from 1974. And God has blessed us. We have got 5 children and 5 grandchildren.
Nairobi in the 1970s was characterized by rural to urban migration, with young people searching for employment, driven away by the poor living standards in the rural areas. Having been born and raised in Embu, Persia too had this quest, which made her travel 130 kilometers away from home to Nairobi in search of a better life. She was also a born-again Christian and was desperately looking for a place to fellowship until one day she heard beautiful melodies of young people singing to God. Little did she know what fate had in store.
I just followed the songs, and I found them at Uhuru Park. Central Park. They were having an open-air meeting there,
Service,
and he was leading the songs, the worship.
She had my voice.
And the pastor preached, and he said he was Joe Kayo. You've heard of Joe Kayo? He was his pastor. So he said, if you want to find where we are as a church, come to Kariako Social Hall. So the next Sunday I looked for Kariako Social Hall, and I found them, and I've never left. I got a husband there. I served there in the choir.
And our children there.
We became pastors, and here we are.
She was God-fearing. She loved God. And she was already serving God. That was very, very important also to me. The tribe was not the issue so much. Though her parents struggled with my tribe a bit. But I thank God, my parents having lived in Nairobi also themselves for many years. My parents were also multilingual. They spoke Kikuyu, they spoke Kiluya, they spoke Kiswahili, and my mother understands Luo. So they had no problem with marrying from across tribes. I mean, they were at peace with it. And therefore, all those factors came in, that our parents supported us. Even when our parents got through over the original fears and noticed, hey, we are not giving up after 1 year, they supported us. And to me, that was a very important factor. Beside the fact that she was beautiful, she was God-fearing, God-loving, ready to serve God, beautiful. Man, just being in the same church is good. Now, singing the same choir became even better, because now we were in close proximity, about two, 3 days in a week, as we met for choir practice, as we sang, as we went for missions together. And so we were watching one another's characters, and she was not bad looking, neither was I. What you're seeing here right now, don't be fooled. 40 years ago, we didn't look like this. This is the effect of wear and tear and gravity. But 40 years ago, we were bad.
Church activities and their faith in God drew this deeply spiritual couple together, and they soon found themselves in love, planning to one day be man and wife. Unlike this present time, where going on one knee was characterized with so much pomp, Persia and Bishop Masinde's proposal wasn't.
No, we talked. Because, you see, those days there was not much hulabaloo going on your knee. I mean, we didn't have money for rings or nothing. We just sat and talked and said, you know something, I've been praying and I love you and I would love to marry you. Pray about it and see if you're at peace with it, and let me know and see where we can take this relationship. That's how we propose as Christians. You don't go around and say, you know what, I want a neighbor. No, would you marry me? Of course, I'm do that. But to us, it was like, I've prayed, and Dad prayed. Because the pastor said, where are you going? You need a wife, because there's a call of God upon your life, and you need to have a wife who can stand with you through this call. Because that was important. Someone will understand where I'm going with God and where God is taking me. And I thank God. I don't regret.
All along, I was saying, God, if you give me a man who loves you more than he loves me, I'll be safe. And so when he proposed to me, I was of age. I was ready for marriage. I was a working lady. And I didn't need to waste any more time.
We didn't begin life born again. We got born again in our late teens.
Yeah.
Before we got born again.
When the life was at its peak.
We lived like any other teenager.
And we looked as though we were...
we lived like any other teenager.
We look.
She told before you got saved, she had a boyfriend. I had a girlfriend. Yeah. I was giving my life to Christ.
The day
my
you got saved, he walked away from her.
Was in the same service. So we are not saying, oh, we are angels, we are born like this, we just fell from heaven. No.
Persia and Bishop Masinde's relationship was challenged by the fact that they came from different tribes. Bishop J.B. Masinde was raised in the city, and his family was more accommodative to people of different tribes. On the other hand, Persia was brought up in the village where most people, including her family, apparently had a negative perspective on their daughter getting married to a man from the western part of the country.
I've seen Nairobi change. Personally, I've seen Nairobi change because when I started going to school, the government vehicles were written HMS on Her Majesty's service when I started going to school. But I saw the freedom campaigns in proper Kamkunji grounds. Leave alone these ones that are nicknamed Kamkunji today. The proper Kamkunji grounds.
The way we were brought up, I don't know about these days, but girls never proposed to men. Even if you felt you had love for someone, you kept it until the person came. If he didn't come,
confirm what you're
move
feeling.
To the next level. So I never showed that there was something in me about him.
For this man.
But there was love. God put some love in my heart for him. So when he came, it was a confirmation of how I was feeling in my heart.
Anybody who came from beyond Nakuru, you see, when you are not traveled, anybody who comes from beyond Nakuru is considered from a particular tribe. You are talking about people who lived in the rural areas all these years. Isn't there a boy around here? You must go beyond Nakuru.
Must you go all
that? That's what the argument. And that's what I'm saying. With me, my advantage is that my parents lived in town. So they had interacted with people from all tribes, Kikuyu, Kalenjin, Luo, Kamba, Taita, Tanzanians, and so. So my parents have no problem in any of our children. I've got brothers who are married from Zimbabwe and all over. So they have no issue. You imagine, we are talking about the late 60s, early 70s. You've lived in rural Kenya all your life, and your daughter is telling you, I found a young man. Where is he from? From Kakamega. Where is that? What? There were all those stereotypes. And those stereotypes, those are things that have made our country, given our country a bad name. But with this generation, that's what I'm saying. After 6-7 months of praying, the parents came around and realized, you know what? There's nothing wrong with people coming from any part of this country. Our daughter loves this man loves our daughter, and let's go on. Our own children, one is married in Busia, another one is married in Meru, another one is married in Ukambani. Our son is marrying a girl from Kiambu. Look at how we have turned out.
And we have a daughter dating.
And we have a daughter dating an African American in the U.S. So that's how the world has turned. So God just was preparing us for what our own life would be.
Bishop Masinde and Persia tied the knot at only 23 years of age, something that would have been deemed as young in this present time. These two lovebirds worked hand in hand to raise cash for their afternoon nuptial in the days where stockings was the latest fashion trend and the dollar was just 7 Kenyan shillings.
Now looking back, I don't think it cost us more than 20K.
Actually, people also came to help us.
Yeah.
Like our uncle, his uncle, took care of the tea, the milk and the tea and everything. My sister made some mukimo. I mean, people helped us. We didn't have a budget. Our wedding was in the afternoon. People came when they had lunch.
We put our wedding at 2 o'clock.
Just give them tea.
So we realized
we knew you
by 2 o'clock you'll have eaten lunch.
So we didn't have a budget.
So from 2 to 3:30 the wedding was over. Then we went for a 4 o'clock tea, and by 6 we were out of the hall. Who will stay hungry because he's waiting to come for your wedding? They'll eat before they come.
Yeah.
So by the time they are coming at 2, they have already had lunch.
Yeah.
And a wedding, as it is, how long does a wedding take? You know, these days...
lasts an hour or two.
Yeah, these days wedding takes long because young people want to drive and go for a photo session. Now with us, we were at the Kenya Polytechnic Hall.
So we took the pictures.
We did our wedding. We went on the grounds, took pictures, came back.
There was one flower.
By 6, we walked out of the place. We had only done a wedding.
And we were married.
We had done a reception. I had my wife. She had a husband. And life.
And someone prepared a dinner for us.
Dinner for us in the evening. Went to her sister's place. Yeah. The bride, and they had an evening meal.
So there is no budget there. It was not sleeveless.
If I'm going to marry again, she'll
wear. It had long sleeves up to here. It was up to here. I mean, it was beautiful. Yeah.
We'll show you the photographs.
Then they did some adjustments because I was size 10 there. I was very small.
Yeah, I'm telling you, don't be fooled by the way you look now.
And to do some adjustments. And there I knew I had a wedding dress. I knew I had a shoe. I remember I didn't even have stockings. I bought them on the wedding day. Gloves. I wore some gloves. I also went to River Road and bought a necklace and some earrings, beautiful. They are still there.
Oh, River Road had great shops those days.
So we used to save.
There were no pickpockets.
We would save and buy. We saved for a ring. I mean, we did the things together.
Yeah, saved for rings.
Because we didn't have a lot of money between us.
I wore a black trouser and a white shirt and a bow tie, and I had someone make a white jacket for me, like a white tuxedo.
But it was mad.
I looked sharp.
We didn't have a big budget of millions and what, but we didn't have money for honeymoon.
But before the wedding, we didn't have money. That's another fake story.
He had only 65 cents in his pocket.
By the time we were walking out, there's a friend of ours, an elderly gentleman called Paul Bruton.
He used to work with Joe Carr.
He couldn't come because he just felt sick that morning. But he had checked through the newspapers, and the best hotel then in Mombasa was Nyali Beach Hotel. They were giving a special offer for Kenyan residents. And he just calculated 7 days, put all that money in an envelope, sent one of his workers, says, just go to JB's wedding. When they are coming out, tell them they must go to Nyali Hotel. This is 7 days, full board, Nyali Beach Hotel, full board. I paid, the money is all there. Let him just look for fare to Mombasa and back. Do you know how much bus was costing those days? 25 shillings to Mombasa.
So the envelopes people gave us with some little money, we got the fare.
We got the fare from there.
And we went to Mombasa.
And someone paid for our honeymoon and we went to Nyali Beach for 7 days.
We wrote a letter to God.
It was a venture.
And we told him, Lord, we need ABC. And we left that note on the table.
For 2 days. It was a walk of faith.
So when we see people calling us for fundraising for a wedding,
because they started
and
commercialized.
A big budget.
You know, in our days, weddings were not commercialized.
Yeah.
No, and if you decide you're doing a wedding, it was really your affair.
Yeah.
And people normally assume that, you know what, my friends owe me a wedding. They don't owe you a wedding. They don't owe you a wedding.
It's a personal affair.
Yeah, it's really a personal thing. They may want to help you, or they may not want to help you.
But so, dragging them.
Yeah, we were prepared to do our wedding on what we could afford.
Yeah.
Not what we felt so and so can give us, or Catherine will give us this money, Andreas will give us. So we could say we have got 50 friends, each one of them has give us 10,000. So we start budgeting on that. We didn't do that. And that's some of the mistake some people planning to get married to. And they don't realize. Train people shouldn't.
There are those who can afford it.
I mean, if you can afford it, we've no problem. We will come and eat. But if you can't afford it, and I've done several here where there was no reception. In fact, someone just brought a cake. Said, "Oh, I've got a cake to share with all of you." Said, "Sure." We cut it in the service, and they're still happily married. And I meet them today. They tell me, "Bish, we still married." I say, "You know, the gum I put can He's still holding. So it's not the issue of how big and glamorous the wedding is.
If you can't
what
afford,
can you afford? Do what you can.
Your way.
I tell them, but don't get into debt because of a wedding. A wedding lasts for 2 hours, max.
Marriage.
Even
for
at the
lifetime.
longest winded preacher, 2 hours, you are done. But if it's me, 1 hour, I walk in, 1 hour, you're walking out. You're married. Why do you want to spend 1 million for a function that will last 1 hour? I normally tell people a wedding is a function with no financial returns. You put in $500,000, you are not getting it back. It's gone down the drain. But of course, people will say, hey, why do you keep on in there? It was a big wedding. But at the end of the day, you are in debt. We didn't start life in debt. No.
Friends who had cars.
Our friends had cars.
Yeah, our friends had cars.
Our relatives, some friends had cars.
So my sister drove us. We went for dinner to her house.
Persia and Bishop Masinde's marriage life began from humble beginnings. They first lived at their friend's house for a year before finding their own place where they could call home. From his youth, Bishop Masinde had a strong calling to serve God as a pastor, and it proved to be demanding once he got married. As Persia nostalgically recalls, her husband's travels and the fact that he spent less time with the family was a bitter pill to swallow.
We started life in very humble. So a friend of mine was going out of the country for a year. Told us, no, look, use my place for 1 year.
So I moved in there. From where I was staying, I moved into that house. So when we got married...
We stayed there for a year until she came back. And we left at the house for her. And we went to live in Bahati, PCA for 1 year. And then we got a house in Jericho and we raised our children.
Humble beginning.
Yeah, and then we went to
We
Kariobangi
didn't have
South.
a house of our own.
Then we moved to Buruburu. From Buruburu we built our house, our first house in Tena.
1970.
And then we moved to Tena.
2006.
So by that time our children were the older ones were going to high school. And I think Joy got married from Tena. Joy.
Like he didn't know I was hurting when he would go and I'm left with the children and the stress and taking students to school.
And sometimes to hospital.
I was stressed until I felt, is this what I asked for? Is it what serving God means? So it was training on my part.
Because she's
and
working
for
in an
him,
office.
He felt he was serving the Lord and giving his best, and I could not put him down because he's serving the Lord. And we had to come to a point where we had to balance the family and
ministry.
And the ministry. And I'm glad we did.
We are the Mdivos. Mdivo is the name, I'm a son-in-law to the Masindes. And you're blessed to have 2 young ones, a boy and a girl, Nikki and Chris. The boy is 7, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I always confirm. And the girl is 9.
My parents have been married 38 years now. Yours have been married longer, right?
No, around about the same time, because James is what? Yeah, 39, about 39 years. So just 3 years different.
So you don't have precedent of walking out, the mama kaya thing of taking all your 2 things from the house and putting them in the bag and walking out. We don't have that precedent. So one thing that I can say I learned and have carried into my own marriage is to stick it out, because today's marriages have got plenty of challenges. And one of the biggest that I'm finding these days with our marriages is that our lives are just so busy. We don't have enough time to build quality relationships. So for you to have a quality relationship, it's actually deliberate.
Even in the secular world, you find doctors, you find lawyers, you find even civil servants who'll go to the office at 6 in the morning and leave the office at 9. I mean, what has your wife done? Your children have gone to bed without you. You leave before they see you. So it's not only in ministry. This can happen in any area of life. There are doctors. There are doctors on call. So by 11 o'clock, the doctor is still in surgery. So all of us, so it's not just preachers here. What when we went through can happen in any area of life. A teacher, you are marking these compositions of 50 kids, and children feel rejected. They feel abused.
So when they grow up, they
some of them hate the church or hate your career because they say, This career took
when
our
I needed
father.
you, you weren't there.
Not there.
So don't ask for me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to balance
Yeah.
and to let them know that there's time for you.
I mean, it's very demanding. So sometimes I was gone when she needed me. I was not there, and the children are there.
I was gone
Sometimes
to
they
be
are
with
sick.
the Lord.
So I feel like my husband has gone to be with the Lord. But he's still alive. But he has gone to be with the Lord.
So the challenge of raising the
Raising
children
and-
most of the time.
And growing
all,
our church and growing our ministry.
challenging.
So those put a strain on our relationship.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting actually because we were 5 of us and we came pretty close together. So there was a lot of camaraderie amongst us. So with that being very busy and all, we learned to take care of ourselves, take care of each other pretty early on. And with someone like Stephen, growing up, we were also together a lot because he was in school with my sisters and brothers. I went to a different school. So since we were young, we were in the same neighborhood, and it was...
By the grace of God, we got a pastor. So we are pastored. We are not just pastors. We've got a person who
Yes.
speaks into our lives,
Yeah.
Dave Richards. And he spoke into our lives, brought order in our lives, and told us, yes, you can do this, but you must do this. So I can go, but I've got to make time for her. When I come back, I've got to put everything aside and say, look, this day is just for me and my family. Yeah, there are times we just leave here and say, call our children. We just want to be alone with our children. We don't want church members, fellow ministers. It's me and her and our children and their spouses and their grandchildren. And once you start making room for that, you know what? Let him go. When he comes back, he'll make room for us. And sometimes this day now we go together because we work together here. So we travel together. But when we come back, we've got to make time. Men tell them, hey, come, let's meet, let's eat together. And that's very important.
And also every week he takes a day off on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Takes a day off from the
And many times
church work.
we
And we just relax, visit friends. Yeah.
even if you
But-
ask me to do something on a public holiday, like Madaraka Day, I'll not. I give public holidays to my family. As long as it's a public holiday, I don't take church work.
But
Yeah.
it came after a long time.
It came, they say, experience is the best teacher, but the tuition fee of the experience is very
They've
high.
never told you.
They never tell you. The tuition fee is very high. It's better to learn just by hearing.
It was a very structured lifestyle. We had plenty of rules, plenty of do's and don'ts. But at the same time, we also had a lot of freedom. Within the rules, there was freedom. So we could explore, we could find out what we wanted to do. For example, like our careers, that was not a set path. The set path was you need to work hard, you need to study. But what you chose to study was entirely up to you. For most of us, even how we exercised our giftings, all of us can sing pretty well, but some of us chose to be in worship team. Others decided, no, they don't feel like it. They want to do hospitality. So there was freedom, but within defined boundaries, which was pretty good because even when I look at my siblings now, we are very confident people in what we do. And we're able to find our way in the world without our parents holding our hands because of that aspect.
And we wanted them to be normal children.
We wanted them to
We
grow.
send them
as
to public schools.
Yeah,
We
they
send them to
went
public universities.
Yeah.
They went to Nairobi University.
And
Jomo
they
Kenyatta.
survived.
And they survived. We wanted them. We wanted them just to experience life as it is out there. So that
They are
when
normal children. They are
normal
not
children, and now they are normal adults.
any different because they are pastors' kids. No. They'll be
I mean,
torn.
they come home and they are saying, today I flunked maths. It's normal. I also flunked.
Yeah.
Parents make mistakes, not just Christian parents, but all parents.
Yeah.
You give your children an impression. You know what?
you-
I never
you
was
are
number
nice
2. I was always
students.
number 1 in class. No, all of us know. I was not always number 1. Even there's a time Manu does not win all matches, they lose all of them.
Yeah, so
There's nobody wins everything. Oh, me, I was 1. No, I tell my children, no, I had trouble in this subject. I failed this subject. I struggled with this subject. I was good in this one. And life goes on. Because all of us, we are good in one subject and sometimes not very good in another. And we've got to be honest with our children.
Yeah, be
we've
honest.
struggled with this, we've struggled with this. And but then I remember one pastor saying he wish he knew that his father had been expelled in 4 different schools. Because he himself was being expelled and was wondering, why am I? Until when his father had died, then in theology they said he went to this, he was expelled and he went to the. So no wonder, he never even told me. I would have thought, no, it's normal to be expelled. But you know, we hide some of our past from our children, you know. But if we can be honest with them, that like we were not born saved. No, we got saved in our late teens. So we've got a life before Christ. Some of the names we carry are not baptismal names.
And we also allow them to make a decision for Christ. We don't force them.
We don't force them. We don't assume. We didn't assume they're born again. No,
we did tell them, now that you are born in this church, you are born in this automatically believer. No. We allow them to go through their own journey. And they went through their own struggles
as university children, as high school children. They went through their own struggles and made their own conscious decisions.
Because in our home, one thing that you do find is, some of my parents, if you say daddy is boss, they'll be like, since when was daddy boss? Because mommy is the one who's the dominant person in the home and in the marriage. But in our house, if you tell the children, I'm going to tell daddy, that is court of appeal. They know if we go there, we are done for. So it will be, no, mommy, you deal with us. Tell us what you want us to do. And that is what we also had in our home, where daddy's word was indeed final. And I'm limited in my success, but I'm glad that I'm trying, because one thing that I do want to have in my home is that order, where Stephen knows his place and is secure in that place. And I'm happy to be submitted to him. Not that I'm not capable, but it is power under influence. Masinde?
Well said. Well said.
I decided now I'm going to be the evangelist, to be the preacher to these children. So I would preach to them, and I would tell them what their daddy is involved in, because I could have turned them against him. But I taught them that he has to serve God. He's going to serve God. He's going to preach, and people will get saved. They'll be blessed. But he'll come back to us, and when he comes back, he's going to give us a good time. So they believed it. And up to now. So
I had to make it. I had to do it.
And by the grace of God, I was able to preach to my children. And they got born again. They got born again. So I got a ministry also. Yeah, at home.
And they serve with us.
So they value the ministry. Quite contrary to what people believe about pastors' children.
Yeah, let's talk
and they are known to be, sometimes they don't like the God of their parents because of how they have been handled
by members of the church,
the church
leaders,
by the parents.
People make demands on pastors' children that it's unrealistic.
Yeah. They think they are born holy, angels from heaven. So they believe our children cannot do what other children do.
But they are normal children.
But I tell them, you know what? You are normal children.
Yeah.
And I also tell the members, our children are normal children like any other child. They will do what other children do. And until they are born again and behave like...
You'll give them sadaka.
They'll go buy something.
See ice cream, they'll buy ice cream with the sadaka.
So that pressure, I had to cushion them from that pressure and tell them, you know what? You are normal children. Don't perform. You are not under any pressure to perform and behave like little angels.
I remember I was expecting Nicole, so that was like our 2nd year of marriage, maybe going into our 3rd year of marriage. I remember once I called my dad and I was like, you know what, this is enough. I am coming home, I have had it, Stephen this, Stephen that, Stephen this. And I talked and talked till my credit ran out, and he called me back. And when I finally kept quiet, he just asked me one question. Joy, si umeolewa? I said, yes, Dad. Like, yeah, never report your husband to me again. And he hung up on me. That was when it hit me. What did I just do? So he calls me back after about an hour. He's like, look, what you did was like utterly foolish. think back to the day you got married. What did you promise each other? How do I come into the equation? Why are you telling me what Steven has done and has not done? So I apologized to him. I was like, okay, fine. I understand what you're saying, and from now henceforth. That was the first realization that I had of, by the way, I'm now more allied to Mdivo than I am to Masinde.
Like many young couples that have issues in money matters, Persia and Bishop Masinde had to devise a financial plan for their marriage's stability. They share with us some insights on how couples can be successful in managing their money.
See, our principle in life has been, let's live in a house we can afford. Let's take our children to schools we can afford. If we can't afford something, we don't buy it. Simple and straightforward. I'll not take a loan to buy a car. It's not that I'm a mean person. It's just that debt is one of the most crippling things in our generation today. And the Bible says, when you're a debtor, you're a slave to the lender. So we've learned to live within our means. So whatever you see around us, even as a church, it's debt-free. If we can't afford it, we don't do it. Even as a church, that's what I've taught my leaders. We can only do, even the building you see us putting up, it's because we can afford it. We don't come up with brochures. I travel overseas, but I don't carry brochures of our school trying to raise money overseas. We have a school, we have a VCT, we are building a church, give us dollars, give us pounds. I don't do that. I go there to bless people and I come back. We raise all our money locally. We have a school. We run two VCTs, one in the neighborhood, another one across the road. We have a property. And that's the principle we have tried to teach our children. Live within your means. Do your wedding within your means. It's not that we've had a lot of money as we grew up, even as a couple. But one thing we learned about money is that once we are married, we don't have her money and my money, it is our money. So that she has access to my account, I have access to her accounts. If she finds my checkbook, she can sign it and she'll take the money. If I find her checkbook, I can sign. If she has an ATM to my account, and that's what the principle we learned long ago. If anything happens to me now, she go to my account and operate it without going to a court, getting a court order and administration letters from ages. She doesn't need it because she's my wife. And everything we buy, especially in terms of assets, I don't write my name alone. You find any of my parents, we can bless her parents, and we've done it over the years, and we can bless anybody else, but from our money, not from my money or her money, but our money.
He allows me to run my own account, but he has access to it. The same with, we also have joint. So I mean, of all the challenges we've had in our marriage, money has not been, because we've learned to bring our resources together and look at the needs of our immediate family and meet them. Our children have been through school, we've a few properties. So we take care of the needs of this immediate family.
This nucleus family.
And once we have, what do you call it? Excess, surplus funds, then we can meet others. Extended family. But people make mistakes. They ignore the nucleus family. And they start.
So she's running with money to her mother. I'm running with my money to my mother. And then you come back, electricity is disconnected. What did you do with your money? I took it to my mother.
Another challenge that these bubbly lovebirds faced was dealing with members of their extended family. Apparently, Persia and Bishop Masinde regret bringing them too soon in their marriage, but time gave them insights on how to handle such issues.
We had 8 sisters and 4 brothers. 3 brothers. But we ironed that out. Now we are great friends. They even call me mom. They don't even call, now they call me mom, because they realize I was here. I was not against them. What happens is when you get married, you know the idea we used to have. You get married in this family, and from day one, you think they are your enemies. So So you're always on the defense. And that's what I did. But later on, we became friends. We understood one another because they also got married and they found out this is what happens in marriages.
Mama Joy, thank you for being our mother. When Mom is far away, she is our mother. He is our father. And we say thank you for being our biological father now because our father passed on. You take care of us as a father, and we are so much honored. We are so much honored that we belong to you. We don't take it for granted that you are part of our family. We have grown in faith because of you.
I mean, they received me well. They loved me. We are great friends with my mother-in-law. I mean, if you see me and her, you won't believe it. Because I felt a mother-in-law is like my mom.
Yeah, she's the mom.
She's the mother of my husband.
Yeah.
If I love my husband, or if I value our relationship with him, I should respect the woman who gave birth to her. But sometimes we don't see that. We don't want to respect her. So we have those struggles. And I didn't have that. Up to now, we respect each other. Also lived far apart. I don't believe that my husband should marry me and take me to the village and dump me there. Or take me to be taken care of.
My father was against it.
We don't believe in that.
My father says if you're marrying a wife, you stay with her.
Stay with your wife.
Don't bring her here.
Yeah.
Stay with her.
Don't dump that wife to your parents.
Your parents.
Yeah, there'll be trouble.
That I've married you and take care of my mother. It's not that's not a right reason to marry.
No, we shouldn't.
You hire someone to take care of your mother.
Yeah.
But
it's
you
not
live
your
with
wife to go take care of your mother. But there is room also for that. If our mom is not well, we'll bring her.
We'll bring her.
And take care of her.
Yeah.
You have to work at it. Doesn't come. Then one vital thing that I learned from my mom is how to be a submissive wife. That does not come naturally for me. Steve can attest to the fact. It is not something that I find easy, but it's something that I know I must do. So there are times when you're gritting your teeth through it, but I have tried, and I keep trying. It's actually a daily thing of I have to learn to be a submissive wife. It's contrary to what people are taught these days, because women, we are empowered, we are emancipated. You do not have to submit yourself to your man. But I have realized if we do not have a form of order in the house where there is authority that stops somewhere, then that is breeding ground for anarchy. And not just within the marriage, even for the children.
Persia and Bishop Masinde are now living large. They have a beautiful home, a thriving church in Umoja, an estate that has grown to be one of Nairobi's densely populated residential areas, and have witnessed their children's weddings. They are today celebrating 38 years as a church, thanking God for seeing them through the years.
And Bishop Masinde, I stand here also representing my spiritual authority, my covering, Reverend Teresa Werimo, who is abroad right now. But she sent her love and greeting, and on behalf of that, we just want to celebrate you. You've been a great leader, a great icon, such a man of God. And today we are just so excited that God has just brought you forth to this level, and we are celebrating you. So receive love and greetings from Bishop Alan Kuna, together JCC family, and also Reverend Teresa Werimo and the Faith and the Femme family. We love you, Bishop, and congratulations.
In the ministry, we knew each other in the late 60s and early 70s when he was a schoolboy in shorts at the Aga Khan High School on Wayaki Way. And in those years, as a young man, it was not a preferred choice to enter into the ministry, especially when you're from high school. You would think of other professions. But this day serves to remind one and all that when you serve the Lord, it is more blessed than any other thing.
Gotta grab hold of life with all of my might, like each moment just might be my last. my worries behind. Well, I still got the time. Leave it all in the past. You get one chance at life, so I'm living it right. And I'll risk it all, come what may. Make it here, make it now. I've got so much to live for today. Every minute I waste, I'm losing the taste of everything life has to give. I feel young, I feel free, gotta think about me.
That's why we appreciate all the people who have contributed to what we are today. The bishops who are here, we honor you, we value you. For taking your time to be here, thank you. There are those bishops who've come after they were introduced, Bishop Tom and Rebecca. Amen, God bless you.
As a parting shot, Persia and Bishop Masinde share critical components that have made their marriage successful.
Learning to talk. Communication is very important. When you don't talk, then you assume. Assumptions causes suspicion. Suspicion in a marriage is like water in the foundation of a building.
Mm-hmm. It is, yes.
Once you're putting up a building and you allow water to seep in your foundations, you're in serious trouble. And suspicion, if I reach a place that I don't trust her, and I'm looking like, what else has she told me? What must she be doing behind my back? Is she discussing anything with somebody that I do not know? You know that marriage is going to die. So open communication is always openness to one another. Even on a difficult subject, let's talk about it. Because there are some difficult subjects. Some of them are sensitive. Mm-hmm. And many times we like flattering one another. You know, because I could get called fiti. No, your fiti is not bad. But if it is fiti, that's okay. But sometimes it's good to have discussions. Let them be animated, but let them, but do like some of our friends, the Kimanis, we were teaching together. And they said, they also decided, if they had any disagreement, whoever notices disagreement, they lock the door. Says, we are not fighting, and we are not going out, and nobody's coming in. Let's sort it out between the two of us before you bring in a third party. We'll not solve our issues by fighting, by beating one another. No. But nevertheless, let's not allow a third party into our marriage unless the two of us have talked about it. Because once it goes to a third party, you don't know how far it will go. So the sooner, if the two of us can finalize it, it remains between the two of us before it goes to a third party. That's been one of the most helpful things. Proper relationships must be tested. Children will test you. When children come, they'll test you. Finances will test you. Relatives will test you. Health will test you. As you age together, they will test you. Been married 38 years. As you begin to age, you discover, hey, some things I used to do, I cannot do them anymore. Not that I want. No, I want to, but I can't, because age is catching up. And I thank God because we are aging together. Great, and we want to pray, God, help us to age gracefully with one another. The closer you get to somebody, the more you know about them. The more you know about people, the more you need to forgive them. As long as I am here and she's there, there are some things about, I may not even smell the perfume she's wearing. But the closer we come together, I start smelling, she's wearing, is that Chanel? Oh, is that, you get me now? Oh, she's got no perfume. Oh, you get me now? But nevertheless, the closer you get, the more you know, the more you need to forgive.